Don, great to see you. What's going on today?
Yeah, great to see you guys as well. My first update involves the labor market, so let me get started on that. So a 2-month high for jobless claims. The Labor Department revealed an unexpected jump in new applications for jobless benefits last week. The rise is being attributed to holiday volatility and not an abrupt shift in labor market conditions. Though job growth accelerated in November after being severely constrained by strikes and hurricanes in October, the unemployment rate ticked up a bit after holding for 2 consecutive months. And cracking down on overdraft fees, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has finalized a new rule that caps overdraft fees at $5 from banks and credit unions, a substantial drop from the typical $35. The CFPB says this could save consumers as much as $5 billion a year, and banking trade groups oppose the new rule. They say this could actually harm consumers because it will make it harder for them to offer services to some, especially the ones who have few options to cover essential payments. Meanwhile, Meta has donated $1 million to President-elect Trump's inaugural committee. Mark Zuckerberg's company confirmed the news to several media outlets after it was first reported by the Wall Street Journal. This comes 2 weeks after Zuckerberg met with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Nearly 4 years ago, Meta banned Trump from its platforms, including Facebook and Instagram, following the events of January 6 in March. Trump called Facebook an enemy of the people, which caused Meta shares to fall. But this recent announcement could indicate a thawing of the ice between Trump and tech industry titans like Zuckerberg. The head of the FAA will be departing on Inauguration Day. In a letter, Mike Whitaker announced to his team that he is stepping down on January 20th. An FAA spokesperson said family issues were a factor in Whitaker's decision to leave early. This will open a new position for President-elect Donald Trump to fill. Politico noted that the resignation comes at a time when the Federal Aviation Administration is dealing with air traffic control shortages, aging equipment, and a Boeing investigation. And diversity mandatory disclosures for Nasdaq-listed companies have been rejected. An appeal court has ruled that the Securities and Exchange Commission should not have approved Nasdaq's boardroom diversity rules. And this included disclosing the gender and racial makeup of boardrooms. Another rule was going to require companies to meet certain diversity targets. In a statement, Nasdaq said it respects the court's decision and does not plan to seek further review. And more tariffs for China, it looks like. The Biden administration will be doubling tariffs on certain solar panel components made in China. Starting next month, imports on Chinese solar wafer and polysilicon will carry a 50% tariff. The administration said the tariffs will complement clean energy investments and supply chain. Tariffs are also being increased on certain Chinese products made of the material tungsten, which is used in several industries, including aerospace, automotive, and medical. Now, 21 states will open the new year with minimum wage increases, and numerous cities and counties will join them, many going to $15 an hour. Here's more on that.
The minimum wage is rising. On New Year's Day, 21 states and 48 cities and counties are raising them to an average of around $16.50 per hour, the highest in California. $24 an hour for certain healthcare workers, the lowest, $10.55 per hour in Montana. Even Florida is joining in, from $13 to $14 per hour, and aiming for $15 in 2026. Later, in 2025, 5 more states and 23 more jurisdictions are raising the minimum wage, for a total of 26 states and 71 cities and counties. The increase comes as a result of both inflation and labor advocacy efforts. The Congressional Budget Office found in a study that raising the minimum wage boosts income for millions, while lifting hundreds of thousands out of poverty. But it also reduces employment by over 1 million workers over several years. Right now, roughly 30 states, around 60% of workers, have a minimum wage that's higher than the federal minimum. The federal minimum wage was first established in 1938 by the Fair Labor Standards Act, signed by then-President Franklin Roosevelt. The minimum back then was 25 cents per hour. It was raised to $7.25 per hour in 2009.
And now let's take a look at Beijing's latest move to boost its sluggish economy. So several stimulus measures are being introduced during the Central Economic Work Conference in Beijing this week. China pledged to increase the budget deficit and issue more debt to local governments, and this is to reduce their financial pressures. Local media have reported that many employees working for local governments across China have experienced long overdue salaries or cuts to their benefits. China also announced a much loosened monetary policy. Analysts are saying that Beijing is hoping to counter President-elect Donald Trump's tariff hikes by weakening its own currency. That's the Chinese yuan. Other stimulus measures include reducing bank reserve requirements and cutting interest rates. Zooming out a little bit, the world's second largest economy is facing multiple challenges. That includes a severe real estate crisis, which has led to heavier local government debts and a weak domestic consumption. Even exports, which is one of the pillar sectors of the economy, which it relies on, will soon be hit by Trump's high tariffs. On top of that, the unemployment rate of young Chinese people tops 17% according to state media, but experts argue the actual numbers are much higher. China's shrinking population is yet another blow on top of everything else to the economy. Many people died during the COVID-19 pandemic. Meta is saying a technical issue caused a widespread outage yesterday on apps like Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Many users reported issues with Meta's apps on outage tracking site down detector. Instagram had logged almost 70,000 reports by mid-afternoon yesterday, while Facebook had up to 105,000 outages. The impact on Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp was far less than 15,000. Meta posted yesterday evening that it was 99% of the way there to fully solving the issue. And a key economic gauge shows inflation could be heating up. The Producer Price Index, which measures average price changes for producers and manufacturers, it rose 3% for the year ending in November. That's a slight acceleration from October, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Economists were expecting prices to increase, partly due to unfavorable comparisons to this time last year. The index serves as a potential bellwether for retail-level inflation in the months ahead. And yesterday, the latest Consumer Price Index landed in line with expectations, but did show some stagnation in the progress on reining in inflation. And Amazon drivers are working overtime this holiday season, and now you can thank them with a free tip with Amazon's Thank My Driver feature, and here's how it works. If you own an Amazon Alexa-enabled device, you can just say, "Alexa, thank my driver." And with that, Amazon will give the driver who delivered your order $5 at no charge to you. You can also use the Alexa app or an Amazon account. The promotion started on December 4th and applies for the first 2 million thank yous in the United States only. Amazon first debuted the Thank My Driver feature back in 2022. The Justice Department is asking a U.S. appeals court to reject an emergency motion by TikTok. The short video app is asking the judges to temporarily block a law that would require its Chinese parent company ByteDance to divest by January 19th or face a ban. The Justice Department said the court should not delay the law's effective date. The DOJ argues that Chinese control of TikTok poses a continuing threat to national security. The three-judge panel upheld the law last week. The decision puts TikTok's fate in the hands of President Joe Biden on whether to grant a 90-day extension unless the Supreme Court reverses it. President-elect Donald Trump assumes office the next day, January 20th. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau adopted new regulations today, capping the amount banks can charge for overdrafts. The agency said the rule would save depositors $5 billion annually. The Bureau said those fees generated nearly $13 billion in 2019. Banks say they have sharply reduced or eliminated overdraft fees in recent years. The American Bankers Association said in April that the regulation could cause banks to cease offering overdraft loans altogether. That would mean cash-strapped consumers might not have the quick access to funds for emergency expenses. According to Americans for Financial Reform, recent polling shows overwhelming voter support for limits on overdraft fees. Other proposals that are not yet finalized include rules on medical debt and fees for declined charges. On to Warner Bros. Discovery. decided to separate its cable TV business from its streaming and studio operations. The move lays the groundwork for a potential sale or spin-off of its TV division. Shares were up 13% this morning. The company said the new corporate structure will provide more options to increase value in both operations. The media giant expects to complete the separation by mid-2025. A large-scale consumer shift toward streaming has stymied growth in traditional TV, a longtime industry goldmine, by the way. Comcast last month said it plans to split most of its NBC Universal cable networks into a new public company. Comedy Central and Nickelodeon owner Paramount Global earlier this year agreed to merge with streaming startup Skydance Media. Ecuador losing millions of dollars worth of oil, but not to green energy transitions or destructive climate protests, but to gangs attempting to support their drug trafficking operations. NTD Sean Marshall has more.
Organized crime groups are becoming a bigger problem in Ecuador. Pits of oil like this one are popping up as organized crime groups increasingly steal fuel from the state-run oil company, Ecuador. The company and officials say criminals are tapping state-owned pipelines for gasoline, diesel, and other fuel to use and making cocaine and transporting drugs. The head of the National Police's Hydrocarbon Crimes Unit, Hugo Amores, says authorities estimate 30,000 gallons of fuel a day are being stolen. He says judicial changes need to be made to deter organized crime groups.
If we do not have a forceful law, the work that both the National Police and the armed forces do is mocked. There we are talking about the revolving door of a hotel where the detainees enter, and others go out the other side, then it does not have the legal effect or the operational effect that we want.
Ecuador says fuel theft since 2022 has led to over $215 million in cumulative losses. Illegal taps have also grown from 32 to over 700 a year in that time. Finding and removing the valves is a time-consuming and expensive process, and the valves also risk fuel spills. Ecuador and its union says violent attacks on oil fields and their workers are growing. In recent years, Ecuador has been confronted with more drug trafficking-related violence. Once one of the safest countries of Latin America, Ecuador has seen a dramatic increase in homicide since 2019, according to the Ecuadorian Organized Crime Observatory. Sean Marshall, NTD News.
Over in Australia, the country plans new rules to create a financial incentive for big tech firms to pay Australian media companies for news content on their platforms. The country's assistant treasurer and minister for financial services announced the regulations today. The measure pressures global tech giants like Google, for example, and Facebook owner Meta Platforms to pay publishers for content that or face the risk of paying millions to continue operations in Australia. Social media platforms and search engines with an Australia-based revenue over $250 million will be subject to the charge. In 2021, Australia passed laws to make the U.S. tech giants compensate media companies for the content that drives readers and advertisers' revenue to their platforms. And you may need to check your pantry because a variety of made good granola bars are being recalled due to possible metal contamination. Riverside Natural Foods says the recall covers 8 different flavors of the granola bars. The products were produced between January and November of this year and were distributed throughout the U.S. and Canada. The company says the recall is only a precaution and no injuries have been reported. Consumers can check their granola bars against the full list on the company's website, which is madegoodfoods.com. Recalled granola bars can be returned to the store for a full refund. Now, BuzzFeed has sold the studio behind the popular celebrity talk show Hot Ones for about $82 million. The celebrity interview and chicken wing eating show launched nearly a decade ago on YouTube and has grown to more than 14 million subscribers. The studio was bought by a group of investors that includes First We Feast founder Chris Schoenberger and Hot Ones host Sean Evans. The sale will help BuzzFeed reduce debt and focus on high-margin content. And with just 2 weeks left to go until Christmas Day, still time to finish your holiday shopping. But your holiday shipping, that's a different story. Deadlines for shipping packages in time for Christmas are quickly approaching. For the U.S. Postal Service's ground shipping, the deadline is December 18th within the lower 48 states. For USPS Priority Mail Express, you have until December 21st. For FedEx, the deadline for 5-day shipping is December 17th, or you can cut it as close as Christmas Eve, December 24th, with same-day shipping. The deadline for UPS is December 19th or December 23rd with next day air. Of course, prices will vary depending on the service you choose and how quickly you want your package to arrive. The most wealthy man in the world has hit a record milestone. According to Bloomberg, Elon Musk's net worth has ballooned to $400 billion. He's the first person to ever reach that amount of personal wealth. The leap is largely fueled by his rocket company SpaceX. But Musk also heads up Tesla, the X social media platform, and other companies. Lately, he's been in the public eye for more than usual with his close ties to Trump and the aftermath of the presidential election. He and Vivek Ramaswamy will oversee a new Department of Government Efficiency as well. Okay, quickly onto Wall Street here. Most indexes, major ones here, closed lower as investors evaluated key economic indicators ahead of Federal Reserve's meeting next week. Initial claims for U.S. unemployment benefits unexpectedly climbed last week, raising concerns about labor market resilience. Nasdaq has surged past the 20,000 mark for the first time yesterday. Wall Street's main indexes have hit record highs multiple times this year, actually. It's fueled by a rally in heavyweight tech stocks. They capitalized on enthusiasm surrounding artificial intelligence and the Fed's interest rate cuts. All right, that's all from Business Matters. Back to you guys.
A lot going on today in the business world. I was particularly intrigued by BuzzFeed's sale of Hot Ones. I've watched that show with my family, and sometimes a little edgy, but it's pretty hilarious. You know, the one we watched and enjoyed very much was Shaquille O'Neal eating, progressively hotter wings and having to drink milk to cool his mouth down. It's pretty hilarious.
Well, you guys have to explain to me how the Hot Ones interview show works, because I've seen a couple of clips maybe, but haven't really dedicated to a full episode. I mean, how hot are the chicken wings?
Well, you got me there, Don. I myself have not actually been on the show, believe it or not. So I haven't tried those wings, but I have heard that they sell the sauce, right?
They do, and what's funny about the format of the show is that you know where it's going, because if Shaquille O'Neal's mouth is burning from the progressively hotter sauces as they go, pretty much everybody is going to be dealing with a fiery mouth as they try to continue to conduct a normal conversation. Kind of reminds me of another show that my family loves, which is Jerry Seinfeld's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, but it doesn't quite crescendo the same way. You drink coffee and you go for a ride in the car, whereas with the Hot Ones, somebody's mouth is on fire by the end.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just wondering, because I know there's a one chip challenge, which is like one really hot tortilla chip or something like that.
Yeah. In its own packaging, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And you have to wear gloves to eat it. I'm just making comparisons here to see if it's at that level in terms of hotness.
I think we need some game shows potentially as the next evolution of the food challenge.
Yeah.
We should do the one chip challenge here.
Tomorrow's Business Matters segment, all we're going to be doing is eating hot chips.
I'm looking forward to that. Well, Don, thanks.
Before the segment, and then we have to do the segment.
Oh yeah, you have to do the segment. We'll just be chilling.
Looking forward to tomorrow, Don. We'll see you then.
All
Thanks,
right.
Don.
Thank you.